Chosen one, what if the help you have been praying for has already been sent, but you almost rejected it because it did not arrive through someone you recognized? What if the answer did not come through your family, your closest friend, your pastor, or the person you expected to open the door? What if God placed it inside the work of a stranger, a discovery you had never heard of, or a person whose name meant nothing to you until this moment? There is a reason this matters now. You may not be lacking signs. You may be lacking the clarity to recognize which sign is carrying an instruction. You may not be abandoned. You may be standing at the recognition threshold, the moment when help has entered your life. But disappointment, exhaustion, and mental fog make it look ordinary. Think about the prayers you have repeated in private. You asked for direction. You asked for relief. You asked for one clear opening after months of closed doors. And while you kept watching the same people, the same places, and the same familiar possibilities, the answer may have started moving through a path you never considered. Sometimes help comes through a conversation that seems accidental. Sometimes it comes through a recommendation you almost ignore. Sometimes it comes through the work of a person who will never know your name, yet they spent years solving the problem you could not explain. The stranger is not always coming to rescue you. They may simply be carrying the key. This is what I call the stranger door. It is an opportunity, a message, or a practical tool that arrives outside your familiar circle. It does not demand blind trust. It asks for careful attention. It asks you to pause before saying no. And it asks whether your fear of the unfamiliar has become stronger than your willingness to examine the truth. Not every stranger should be trusted. Not every offer is a sign. Not every exciting feeling is confirmation. Healthy discernment matters. In this message, you will learn 3 tests that separate a genuine open door from another distraction, and none of them require you to surrender your judgment. Maybe you have felt that conflict. Something inside you senses that change is close. Yet another part of you cannot decide what to do next. You notice patterns, but you question them. You receive ideas, but you delay. That does not mean you are weak. It does not mean God forgot you. It may mean your receiver has been overwhelmed by pressure, disappointment, and unanswered questions. When the receiver is strained, even meaningful help can arrive and look completely ordinary. Later, I will tell you about a doctor in New York you have probably never met. His work may explain something you have felt for years but could never name. I am not asking you to believe anything without examination. I am asking you to remain open long enough to see. Do not reject the answer merely because you do not recognize the messenger. The face may be unfamiliar. The truth may still be relevant. The door may look ordinary. The timing may still matter. If you are ready to recognize help without surrendering discernment, write this below. I will recognize the right messenger. You will not chase every sign. You will not fear every new door. You will examine what arrives with wisdom, peace, and courage. Because before you can recognize the messenger, you must confront the expectation that has been making the messenger invisible. Most people do not miss help because they have no faith. They miss it because they already decided what help must look like. You may have expected one person to apologize. You may have expected one company to call. When none of that happened, you assumed the answer had not come. This is expectation blindness. It happens when hope becomes attached to one form, one face, or one route. The danger begins when you treat your preferred form as the only form God is allowed to use. You asked for relief, but perhaps help arrived as information. You asked for a breakthrough, but perhaps the first answer was a tool. You asked for confirmation, but it came through someone outside your circle. The message felt too practical, so you dismissed it before testing whether it was true. God has never been limited to familiar messengers. A stranger can speak one sentence that changes your direction. A teacher can explain what your family could not name. A doctor can study a problem that has quietly shaped your days. The messenger does not need your history to carry something relevant to your future. Unfamiliarity alone is not evidence against truth. Some people know your name and still cannot see your calling. Others may never meet you, yet their work can become part of your next decision. Think about a moment you understood only later. Someone offered advice and you ignored it. Months passed. Then, life revealed what they were trying to show you. You had changed enough to hear it. That is the first breakthrough. Delay does not always mean absence. Silence does not always mean abandonment. Sometimes, you watch the same locked door, while another entrance has already opened behind you. The challenge is to notice what deserves examination. Expectation blindness also affects prayer. You can ask God for guidance while rejecting every answer that requires a new skill or a practical decision. You may want certainty without investigation. Real help often restores responsibility. It gives you something you can evaluate and use. It may place a key in your hand, but you still decide whether it fits the door. The stranger door requires discernment, not suspicion. Suspicion says no before looking. Discernment looks closely before deciding. It is guided by truth, peace, consistency, and the fruit an opportunity produces. Perhaps someone once used spiritual language to gain your trust. But one false messenger should not train you to reject every unfamiliar source forever. Healthy caution leaves room for evidence. Fear closes the case too early. Healthy caution asks clear questions. Fear keeps changing the standard because it is terrified of choosing. So ask yourself this: have I been waiting for help, or have I been waiting for help to wear a face I already know? It may explain why certain opportunities felt ordinary, even when they carried the support you requested. The answer can be spiritually meaningful, even through a practical channel. God can work through prayer, knowledge, research, conversation, and disciplined action. And this is where the message becomes personal. There may be a reason your mind no longer recognizes opportunities as quickly as it once did. The next part is not about your worth. It is about the receiver that has been carrying too much noise for too long. There was a time when your mind felt different. You learned quickly. You asked questions without shame. You noticed patterns that adults ignored. Ideas arrived before you knew how to explain them. And imagination felt natural instead of irresponsible. Maybe you remember that version of yourself. You trusted what you noticed. You did not need permission to be curious, because curiosity was simply how you moved through life. Then the noise grew louder. Responsibilities multiplied. Stress became normal. Your attention was divided between work, bills, messages, family needs, and the pressure to keep appearing strong. Little by little, the inner signal became harder to hear. Now, you may lose a word in the middle of a sentence. You may read a page and remember almost nothing. An idea appears, but it disappears before you can write it down. You pray for direction, yet your thoughts keep moving in different directions. This can feel personal. It can make you question your intelligence. But mental fog is not proof that your value has decreased. It is not proof that your calling has disappeared. It may be a sign that your receiver has been overloaded. I call the healthier state the restored receiver. It is not a new identity. It is the clearer version of you that can notice, compare, discern, and act without being buried beneath constant internal noise. A restored receiver does not chase every sign. It notices what matters and releases what does not. It can hold spiritual sensitivity and practical judgment together. Help often arrives quietly. It may appear as one useful sentence or a new method. It may come through a person whose work answers a question you never knew how to ask. Now I want to place something in front of you before we continue. A small research group led by a doctor in New York has explored a mechanism connected to how the two sides of the human brain work together. The work is presented as drawing from split brain research associated with a Nobel Prize. Its central idea is simple. Logic, language, imagination, pattern recognition, and creative insight may function differently when the brain operates in greater coordination. The group developed a practical application built around that idea. I am not naming it yet. Later, you will hear what it is, who created it, how it is used, and what questions to ask before deciding. For now, hold one question. What if the stranger God uses is not coming to give you another prophecy, but to help restore the clarity required to recognize what is already unfolding? That question changes the frame. You may not need more signs. You may need less noise. You may not need someone to predict your future. You may need enough mental space to recognize the opportunity or instruction already present. Think back to the sharpest version of yourself. Remember being curious, awake, and able to connect ideas. That capacity may not be gone. It may be covered by years of pressure and fragmented attention. Take one slow breath. Let your shoulders release. You are not being asked to become a genius overnight. You are being invited to consider that clarity can be supported through a practical process. But clarity alone is not enough. A clear mind without discernment can still walk through the wrong door. In the next part, you will learn 3 tests for the stranger door, and those tests will protect your freedom while keeping your heart open. A clear mind can still choose the wrong door. That is why clarity must walk beside discernment. You do not need to fear every unfamiliar messenger. You need a simple way to test what enters your life before you give it your trust. The first test is the peace test. Real peace is not sudden excitement. It does not make you feel rushed, trapped, or ashamed for asking questions. It gives you enough inner space to look closely. Ask yourself, does this opportunity respect my freedom, or does it demand a decision before I can think? Pressure tries to remove your judgment. Peace protects it. Pressure says you will lose everything if you pause. Peace allows you to examine the facts, consider the cost, and walk away if the door does not fit. The second test is the consistency test. A trustworthy message should agree with truth, responsibility, and the values you already know are sound. It should not ask you to abandon wisdom. It should not demand that you hand your power to the messenger. Look at the details. Can the claims be examined? Are the terms clear? Does the message remain consistent when you ask difficult questions? A real opportunity does not become false simply because it is unfamiliar, but unfamiliarity never excuses confusion or manipulation. The third test is the fruit test. Do not judge only by the promise. Look at what the opportunity begins to produce. Does it move you toward clarity, responsibility, and healthy action? Or does it make you more dependent, fearful, and unable to think for yourself? Good fruit does not always appear instantly, yet the direction should become visible. You should feel more capable of making decisions, not less. Maybe you are skeptical. That is not a spiritual failure. Healthy skepticism can protect you from emotional pressure, and it can also help you recognize evidence when the evidence is real. Faith and careful examination do not have to fight each other. Maybe you have been disappointed before. Someone used spiritual language to gain your trust. Someone promised a transformation that never came. That pain deserves respect, but one false door should not become the lock on every door that follows. You do not need absolute belief before you investigate. You only need enough openness to look. You can read, compare, question, and decide. You can move one step closer without surrendering your freedom. This is the difference between discernment and suspicion. Suspicion rejects before looking. Discernment looks before deciding. Suspicion is controlled by the past. Discernment remembers the past, but it still allows truth to present new evidence. So place the stranger door before these 3 tests. Is there peace without pressure? Is there consistency with truth and responsibility? Is there fruit that restores your ability to act? These questions can protect your heart while keeping it open. If this is your prayer, write this below. God, give me discernment without fear. Let that sentence become your reminder. You are not required to trust every stranger. You are being invited to stop rejecting every unfamiliar source before examining what it carries. There is still a harder question. What happens when an opportunity passes every test, but you remain unable to act? What happens when the door appears sound, yet fear keeps asking for one more sign? That is where the recognition threshold begins. The recognition threshold is the moment when you sense that something may matter, but you still cannot bring yourself to move. You feel drawn toward the door. You see enough evidence to keep looking, yet you remain frozen because you want certainty that no human decision can provide. Discernment and fear can sound similar at first. Discernment asks for enough truth to take the next responsible step. Fear demands a guarantee before any step is taken. When the guarantee never comes, fear calls the delay wisdom. You research, pray, and return to the same question. What once would have been enough no longer feels enough, because the real obstacle is not information. It is the terror of choosing wrong. They cannot live your life or make your decision. They may bring a key, a method, or a missing piece that you can examine for yourself. Remember the research I mentioned earlier. It focused on how the two sides of the brain cooperate. One side is often associated with language, sequence, and analysis. The other is often associated with imagery, pattern recognition, and creative insight. When these ways of processing feel disconnected, a person may have information without insight. They may sense something without knowing how to evaluate it. They may think endlessly without reaching a decision. The problem is not always a lack of intelligence. It may be a lack of coordination. This is why another sign may not solve the problem. A new sign enters the same overloaded system. Another opportunity becomes another source of pressure. The mind keeps collecting, but it does not integrate. Most people assume they need another message from God. But what if the message is already present, and the system meant to recognize it is operating below its best? That possibility gives practical meaning to restoration. The research team did not stop at describing the problem. According to the product materials, they developed a practical application intended to support greater coordination between the two hemispheres. It was designed to be simple, passive, and brief enough for daily life. I have waited to name it because a solution means little before you understand the problem it addresses. Now you understand the shape of that problem. You know why a clear answer can feel ordinary, and why endless searching can become another form of fog. The question is not whether you should believe every claim. You should not. The question is whether a tool that takes only a few minutes each day deserves careful examination when it directly addresses the clarity problem we have been discussing. You can inspect the mechanism, the instructions, the guarantee, and the experiences reported by other users. Then you can decide from a place of steadiness rather than panic. The next part will close the loop. You will learn who the doctor is, what the application is called, how it is used, and what it is not. You will also hear the questions that matter before you spend anything. Because the stranger behind this discovery is not being presented as your rescuer. He is being presented as the person who helped create a tool. The value of that tool must stand on what it offers, how clearly it is explained, and whether it fits your own judgment. Now, I want to close the loop. The stranger I mentioned is Dr. Daniel Barone, a neurologist in New York City. His work led to a digital audio program called The Genius Switch. The idea behind it is called whole brain activation. It is designed to support synchronization between the left and right hemispheres. Its method is called neural sync technology, and its explanation draws on Nobel Prize-linked split brain research by Doctor Roger Sperry. This does not promise a miracle or identical results. It is presented as a practical tool for a clearer, more coordinated mental state. The process is simple. You put on headphones, you close your eyes and relax. Then you listen to the targeted auditory sequence for 8 minutes each day. No mantra or meditation skill is required. If you miss a day, simply return the next day. You may combine it with yoga or meditation, but neither is required. Access is digital, so the audio is delivered by email and can be kept for lifetime use. This matters because many people have tried common audio tracks without results. The Genius Switch is not presented as a brainwave program. The materials distinguish it from binaural and sound wave approaches. It is also compared with neurofeedback. The sales materials cite sessions costing hundreds and home equipment costing thousands. This does not make it medical treatment, but it explains the accessibility claim. Consider the experience attributed to Lisa, a nurse from San Diego. She said life felt like it was happening to her. She had tried several approaches without a meaningful shift. After about 10 days, she reported clearer thinking, less stress, and improvement in her marriage. Matthew, a Houston business owner and father, shared another testimonial. He described brain fog that had become so normal, he stopped recognizing it as fog. After about 2 weeks, he reported greater mental clarity. These are individual experiences, not guarantees. They do not prove everyone will experience the same change. They show the kind of outcome some users say they noticed after using the program consistently. You may think, I have tried audio programs before. That is fair. Ask whether this method differs meaningfully and whether the explanation offers enough evidence to test it. $39 is still real money. The current product materials list a price of $39, reduced from a listed price of $49. The materials say the price may increase, so check the current terms. The program is delivered only through its official website, not through common video or music platforms. There is no shipping fee because nothing physical is mailed. After purchase, the access details are sent by email, allowing the listener to begin without waiting for a package. The purchase includes lifetime access and 4 bonuses. They include guided visualization, a grocery guide, a manifestation book, and a 5 habits infographic. The materials describe a full money-back guarantee. This lowers risk, but read the official terms before purchasing. 8 minutes is shorter than many morning routines. It can fit before work, during a break, or with morning coffee. Its value depends on use, not ownership. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who understands that prayer and practical action do not compete with each other. A tool does not replace God. A doctor does not become your savior. A purchase does not guarantee a destiny. But practical help can still arrive through people you have never met. Examine the claims, instructions, and guarantee. Then decide for yourself. The link is in the description and pinned comment for careful review. Do not buy from pressure or spiritual language. Examine the peace test, the consistency test, and the fruit test. Then choose from clarity. The stranger has now been named. The tool has been revealed. What remains is the most important truth. Help is a key, not a rescuer, and the next step still belongs to you. Help is a key, not a rescuer. That truth protects your freedom. The right messenger does not take control of your life. They place something useful within reach, and you decide whether it deserves a place in your next step. Help from God does not remove your participation. It restores your ability to participate with wisdom. A healthy tool should make you more capable, not more dependent. It should support your judgment, not replace it. You have now heard the name of the doctor. You have heard the name of the program. You have also heard the limits. Nothing here promises that one audio will solve every problem or produce the same result for every person. That honesty matters. Real discernment does not need exaggeration. It can hold hope and caution at the same time, because truth does not collapse when you ask responsible questions. Imagine waking tomorrow with less mental noise. Your first thought is not panic. You can see what needs attention first. One decision becomes clearer, and the rest of the day no longer feels like one large emergency. You sit with an idea that once felt scattered. This time, you can follow it. You write the first step. You make the call. You finish the task that has remained open for weeks. Nothing magical happens around you. The change begins inside your response. You notice more. You delay less. You stop asking for 10 signs when one clear and responsible action is already available. Now imagine how that clarity touches your relationships. You listen without preparing your defense. You hear what your partner or child is actually saying. You respond from presence instead of exhaustion. That is what useful help should support. It should return you to your life. It should not pull you away from reality or teach you to fear your own judgment. Maybe part of you still says, "This is not for me." That may be true. You are allowed to decide that after looking closely. You do not need to force a yes in order to prove faith. But do not let an old disappointment make every new answer look dangerous. Do not let fear disguise itself as wisdom. The chosen one is not the person who believes everything. The chosen one is the person who can test without closing the heart. You can examine the official information. You can review the instructions, the current price, and the guarantee. You can decide whether 8 minutes a day fits your life, and whether the method deserves a personal test. If your answer is no, let it be a clear no. If your answer is yes, let it be a clear yes. Do not decide from panic. Do not decide from pressure. Decide from peace. The information mentioned earlier is available below for those who feel led to examine it carefully. Read the page fully. Check the terms. Keep your freedom. After that, return to the deeper message. A stranger can carry a key, but they cannot walk your path for you. The door still requires your hand. The next step still requires your courage. Every day spent in fog can make a meaningful opportunity easier to miss. That is not a threat. It is a reminder that delay has a cost, even when the cost appears quietly. The question is no longer whether help can come through an unfamiliar source. You already know it can. The final question is whether you will keep asking for another sign after an opportunity has passed every responsible test. That is the last trap. Waiting can be sacred, but waiting can also become a hiding place. In the next part, you will learn how to tell the difference before another clear door becomes another missed season. Waiting can be sacred. It can protect you from rushing into the wrong decision. It can give truth time to become visible. But waiting becomes dangerous when it is used to avoid every step that carries uncertainty. Sacred waiting is active. You observe, you prepare, you ask clear questions, you take small actions that can be reversed if new information appears. Fear-based delay feels different. It keeps moving the standard. One sign appears, then fear demands another. One question is answered, then fear invents a new question that no answer could satisfy. You may call this patience, you may call it prayer, but beneath the language, you know when you are hiding from a decision. Many thoughtful people remain stuck because they believe a wise choice must feel completely safe. Yet almost every meaningful step contains some uncertainty. Discernment does not remove all risk. It helps you choose a responsible risk. It asks whether the next step is honest, affordable, reversible, and consistent with the life you are trying to build. Give yourself one task for the next 24 hours. Write down one unfamiliar door that has appeared recently. It may be a conversation, a method, or information you ignored. Then place it before the 3 tests. Does it bring peace without pressure? Is it consistent with truth and responsibility? Does its likely fruit move you toward clarity and healthy action? After that, choose one step. Read the full information, ask one direct question, make one call, try one reversible action. You do not need to cross the entire bridge today. If the program mentioned earlier interests you, review the official page, check the current price, the instructions, and the guarantee. You are not required to purchase in order to investigate. If you are not ready, save the information and continue your research. A responsible decision remains. responsible whether the answer becomes yes or no. Chosen one, another sign may not bring the peace you seek. Sometimes peace arrives after you take the first honest step that wisdom has already made available. Think about the doors you have missed before. Sometimes you waited until the opportunity required no courage, and by then it was gone. This is not a reason to condemn yourself. It is a reason to change the pattern. Your past can teach you without becoming your prison. Write this below if it matches your decision. I will not hide inside endless waiting. Let those words mark a shift from passive hope to responsible movement. You are not chosen because you trust every voice. You are chosen because you can remain open without becoming careless. You can test the message, protect your freedom, and still move when peace, truth, and wisdom agree. Imagine yourself 6 months from now. You look back and realize the turning point was not a dramatic miracle. It was the day you stopped dismissing one small door simply because it did not look impressive. Maybe that door led to clearer thinking. Maybe it led to a conversation. Maybe it led to a habit that restored your confidence. The form matters less than the courage that allowed you to examine it. You do not need another wave of pressure. You need a moment of stillness in which fear releases its grip and discernment becomes clear. The final part is that moment. It is not another argument. It is a release, a declaration, and a quiet decision to welcome help without surrendering wisdom. Take a slow breath. You have carried uncertainty for a long time. You have tried to remain faithful while questions stayed unanswered, and you have kept moving even when your mind felt tired. Be grateful for that strength. You are still searching for truth. You are still willing to listen. That willingness is not weakness. It is evidence that disappointment did not close your heart completely. Now breathe in slowly. Acknowledge the fear of being misled. Breathe out and release the need to control the form of every answer. Breathe in again. Welcome clarity. Breathe out and let desperation leave your body. Breathe in once more. Welcome discernment. Breathe out and release the belief that only familiar people can carry meaningful help. Now, let these words become your declaration. I am not forgotten. I am not abandoned. I do not need to recognize the face before I examine the truth. I welcome help without surrendering discernment. My mind is becoming clear. My spirit is becoming steady. I will recognize the right door. I will test what enters my life. I will ask honest questions. I will act when peace, truth, and wisdom agree. I am ready to receive help in the form God chooses to send it. I do not chase every sign. I do not reject every stranger. I remain open, grounded, and responsible. In the coming days, notice what enters your path. It may be a conversation, an email, an idea, or a piece of information you would normally ignore. Do not force meaning onto it. Pause and examine it. Use the peace test. Use the consistency test. Use the fruit test. Let truth earn your attention. Help may already be near. You do not need to run after it in fear. You only need enough stillness to recognize what is worthy of a closer look. Write this below. I will recognize the messenger and test the message. Let that sentence become a promise to yourself, not a promise to believe blindly. Like this message, so it can reach someone who feels forgotten. Share it with the person who has prayed for help, but feels too tired to notice a new door. Subscribe if you want more messages that join faith with clarity and responsible action, then carry this truth with you. May the right help find you. May wisdom steady you. May clarity return to you. And when the stranger door opens, may you have the peace to examine it, the discernment to test it, and the courage to walk through it when the time is right. You are not waiting without purpose. You are learning to recognize. You are learning to test. You are learning to move. The face may be unfamiliar. The help may still be real. The door may look ordinary. The timing may still be sacred. Go in peace. Keep your heart open. Keep your judgment clear. And trust that the right help does not fear your questions.